Okay, so I just wanted to jump in. I'm actually in the group permits, and I have my three components here. I have my web data, my web map, and my web app. So let me just click on this. I can either click on this little link here, or I can click on here. They go to different places. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this because that takes me to the property page. So if I wanted information, if I'd done a big description, you'd find it here. Any access use constraints. If you were the editor, you're the owner of the data, we could edit tags and we can add them. But I can export the data to different formats. Like if you wanted to take the whole data set and export it out to something that you can see in Excel, you can come in here and export data and export to CSV file. CSV is native in Excel. It's not called an Excel file, but you can just drag and drop a CSV right into Excel. And these other formats are for GIS related software. I can open it up in desktop software, or I can open it up in the scene viewer, which is the 3D one, which we probably won't look at right now, or we can open it up in the map viewer, which is what I'm going to do. So I have my overview page. This is relatively new capability, so this came out in the last update, actually. So it's new for even me, which is still pretty cool. So my data view is my table information. My visualization is should show me like a little copy of the web map, if I recall. Yep, cool. And then probably give me, I'm going to probably get a little pop-up soon. Let's see. Yep, okay. So I get this little pop-up right here because it's telling me that I've exceeded the range that can be displayed at any one time. And that range right now is, I can show, I think 10,000 features at once. If I zoom in closer, I won't get this little pop-up. If I want to turn it off, I just click this little checkbox and say okay. And now next time I load it, it shouldn't show me. But the reason it's popping up is that there's 13,773 permits in here, but yet my data layer in the cloud only has it set to where it can render 10,000. It can only display 10,000 at one time. So if I zoom in closer, I shouldn't see that pop up because I'm closer to the data, and I should be close enough to where I'm only showing, 5,000 points. And then my usage tab is how many people really, like, this is how I can track to see how many people are for reporting purposes are actually viewing the data. How many people are hitting it? Average requests per day, 1,076. Wow. Well, because I'm hitting it. I've been playing with these little videos, and so I think that's what's happening here. Unless you guys are all looking at it over there, and then underlying settings. So I'm going to go back to the overview, and I'm going to open it up in Map Viewer. So what it's going to do is this is the quickest way to take a feature layer and convert it to a web map. So I just click on that data set and it adds it to the web map. And at this point, if I want to, I'm saying this for you guys, because you guys don't, well, we'll get into web maps in a second, but this popped up again. I wonder if it will not pop up on the other dialog, but you have different, maybe that's kind of a quirk. So if I want to save this as a new map, I would just click this little drop down. I see save, but you guys don't have save because you don't own the web map. You click save as. You click save as. You put your title information, your tags. Tags are set up to define search terms. So if I want to look for this data set, how do I find it? What are the keywords that I want to put in there? Permits, residential permits, ACR permits, county riverside permits. Those would all be good tags. And then a simple description. So this is taking the feature layer or the data that's out in the cloud, putting it in a web map. I'm going to go back now because ultimately I want to show you the data, the web map, and then the web app. And that is the web map, but I want to show you from the web map that I've already created. So go back to my group, click on permits. This time I'm actually going to launch the web map that I've already defined. When I click the link, what it does is it sends me to the property page. except for the web app. The web app will actually just launch the app itself. But this is still, if I clicked on the icon, it would go directly to the web map on that previous page. So you have properties for your web maps, just like you have for your data. So I got usage and I got underlying settings too. But I'm just going to go ahead and open it up in the map viewer. And so when I originally created this, I saved the extents with the data. So every time I open it up, it's going to open up to this view. And I shouldn't get that little pop-up because I've zoomed in closer to the data, so I'm showing less data. I'm falling within the 10,000 range. If I was farther out, away from Earth, I would show more data, and then they have the possibility of that little pop-up popping up again, saying, "Hey, you've exceeded your display setting." And so now within the web map, I have different capabilities within here. I can go and I can bookmark, kind of like you can do in Internet Explorer or Firefox. I can bookmark web pages. Well, I can also bookmark spatial locations. I can measure a point from one point to another point. And then if I wanted to type that in and put it into like a report or something, you'd also see this kind of measurability within the pictometry application. I can do miles. I can also look at square miles. I can do acres within this app. I'm going to close that. I can do directions. This ties into from point A to point B, and I want a systematic direction, something you would get with like Google Maps. I can print data. Once I have a web app, I can share it. Right now it's shared to the permit group, as you see. But if I wanted to share it to residential, which was not really active right now, I'd click this little button, and then if you have access to residential and not permits, you would see it show up in residential as well. The data, the underlying web map itself, so you have access. That's it for now. And now you guys would be able to save as. I can actually save or save as. Analysis is just for doing, probably not for this project, but we will have a project in the future. This burns credits, actually, the analysis stuff. So everything that we do in ArcGIS Online has we burn like what's known as credits. It's the way they license the software through, this is through Esri. And so analysis would be able to do like point and polygon type of operations. We won't go over that right now. Base maps is where we can actually choose different base maps. Maybe I don't want this topo map. So let me zoom in closer. So if I zoom in really, really close, and I'm like, you know what? I want to see what the underlying, maybe the underlying land use is. And I don't really want to see this like what's known as this community maps layer. It's like a topo map, so it shows you kind of like a 3D elevation in a 2D map. But maybe I want to show photos. So we have different photos that are being published by County IT that we've historically had. We have something published by Esri, which is imagery and imagery with labels. And then we also have all these other underlying base maps that Esri's put out. Even though it says Riverside Street Map and Riverside Light Gray and imagery with, this is all Esri data. This is all data being hosted by Esri. It's just these top ones are actually hosted by Riverside County. So maybe I want to add this one. And this is just a nice little photo that I can actually add. Just note that symbology that looks good in topo is going to look different in the air photos as well. I'm going to go back to community maps because it's a nice, or maybe I'll just go to light gray. Light gray really pulls out your cartography, your points, because it's not the focus is on the back end of the base map, it's actually on the data itself. That's the nice thing about light gray. But I'm going to go back to my favorite, which is Riverside Community, which is a community maps. Now, other things you can do in here is we can edit the data. So if we need to add points, like if I go out in the field, you would have an edit ability you'll have with collector. So this will kind of emulate that workflow, but if you were to say, you would do this in a field app, but you wouldn't necessarily use this component, this web map, actually in the field. Conceptually on an iPad you could, but the collector is way easier to work with. But if you were, if you had some information and you wanted to add it because if you had a photo that you could see where a permit may be, because we just had a new flyover, you could edit data right in here by, ultimately, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to left click on here and I just click to add a point. See the little pop up? Just click to add a little point. And there it is. And then at this point, I can actually go in there and tweak any information. Okay, so that's a quick little thing, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this for now. I think I probably should create a little video to show you all that stuff, all the little drop downs. I'm going to delete that. If I turn this off, I'm no longer in edit mode. If I want to go back to edit mode, I can either click edit button over here, or I can click an existing point, and I can just come in here and I can click edit, and that kicks me into edit mode with existing data. So I can go in here and I can tweak any attributes. Like if I go out in the field and I make notes because I want to do something to the data, but I don't want to spend time in the field doing it because it's easier to do it in the office, I can come down here and I can make comments down here. This is a 200 character limit field, so it has a lot of room for you to type stuff in, and then you can come back to the office and then you can edit when you're in the office. That's the whole purpose of that comments field. And that's a similar workflow I think that BPP does. Good person to reach out for that would be Sean Smith. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. If I want to add additional data sets, I can add data from the web by clicking on this drop down and going to it. Also, I can click on a legend if I just want to see the legend. But most of your work you're going to just do on contents. Now, if within here I have each one of these is a button. So I can show my legend just like I can click this little button. I can open the table. I can change the style. The style is, do I want the no and the PC and the yes to be different colors? Then I can come in here and I can go in, click that, and I can go in here and say I want to change the color on the symbols. The symbols, this is called smart mapping, and it's pretty robust. Certainly worth a play around of it. Maybe even a demo at some point for you guys. But for now, I'm going to skip it. Here I just click the table. I show a table. Within the table control, I have different options. I can add fields, I can show and hide columns, I can do a filter, which I'll show in a second. If I want to filter out just specific records and I only want to show specific records, I'm going to use filter. I can click this plus button, and then here's another way I can turn fields on and off. I can expand. I should be able to expand. Why is it not working? There we go. See how it kind of changes? Okay, there you go. See, I get that little the little horizontal thing where I can change the width of the column. I can click this little control and I can sort of send on the field, descend, or calculate. So it's kind of light capability with the table, and we're just going to skip that for now. I'm going to close out of the table. I'm going to come back, and here's the filter tool that I mentioned earlier. Now this is the idea here is that we can, if you want to filter out data, at some point what we've done is we've added a book field in here. And it has to be a book field by itself is normally text. Think of ABC, right? We're not anytime we're not going to calculate a field, we add it as a text field. Like APN is another text field. We're never going to calculate two APNs together because it's not a number. But with book, and to get this control to work the way we want it, we've set it up as an integer so that we can use the between operator, which I've already filed with Esri to support it for text, but for now, if I wanted to do book is between 101 and 130, I could do a number. If I wanted to do multiple expressions, so the thought here is if I wanted to do multiple books and I wanted to just focus on the book areas that I'm responsible for, I could filter out and just show those areas. And so I can actually do add another expression, and I can just keep adding these to do whatever I want to do. So maybe I have here is 101 to 130. And then I do another one. Maybe I want to do book is equal to 135. Then do another one, 140, whatever it may be, whatever. And then when I click apply, what it will do is only show those. It should only show those values. And because I have this little drop down here, and display features in the layer that match all. I want all of these to only show. I only want to show a book is between 101 and 130 and 135 and 140. If I click any, then it could show this, or it could show this, or it could show this. So you'll ultimately, if you follow this approach, you'll want to do all. For right now, I'm not going to do any. If I want to do them as a set, so let me kill out of these. I want to add as a set, then what it will do is it will add essentially 2 at a time. And then I can do like subgroups, subfilters. So I can add this, but I want this, and I want any of these or all of these. And then if I did another set, and all of those, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to do any filters. There's the analysis button that kind of does here. We're not going to get into. We click this little ellipsis. The cool things about this little thing is I can get into doing, I can turn labels on. Right now I'm showing APN, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to turn that off. I can also do, I can configure pop-ups. Like if I want to show, like when I click on this little info window is considered a pop-up. If I want to control what gets displayed, we can do that from this little page right here. We can also put like little pie charts in here. Pie charts, bar charts, column, line charts. Person who does a lot of this is Semine on our team. Also, another helpful thing is I can do transparency. Transparency shows me the, what gets displayed. See-through, things kind of think of it as like a see-through ability. We do this to the Silverlight web apps where we can see through the data on the polygons to see the underlying photos. Well, we can do the same thing with points. We control it by this little slider. Also, I can do is I can set a visibility range. If I want to see the data only at a certain range, I just move it to that. When I zoom out, I don't see any data. When I zoom back in within the range, the data draws. And I control that through the visibility range. Just take that back to normal. Okay, that's all we have. That's all I'm going to go for web maps. I'm going to go back. And this is an early prototype for the web app. Lots of room to grow on this. And so here, if I click on the same link, if I click each one of these, I get the properties. And I click on that, I should be taken right into the web app itself. Oh, properties again. Cool. All right. All right. So here I can actually view the application or edit the application. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and, for now, I'm going to view the application. But you guys can, I can show you how to build your own applications too, should you guys want that. All these buttons are really, you can add as many buttons or remove. We just kind of threw out a couple just to tinker around with it, kind of get used to the UI. This is the same UI we follow for the mobile home project. This is the same UI we follow for the PPP project and for the desert commercial canvas as well. Sales investigation will probably follow the same UI and the ag plots. And those are the upcoming 2 mobile components that we're going to go out live on. So within here you have, these are your functional areas down here. Here's my legend. So I got my legend. If I want to minimize it, just click this little minimize button. Click it again, it expands it. Click the X, closes it. Here's my layers. From within layers, I can expand it. It shows the legend. I can also come back here and click this little ellipsis, and I get additional capability. So I can do transparency. I can zoom to, whatever. Let me close that. We can add data. Now this is if I want to add data that's out, like right now it's going to, if I do a search, it's going to find data that's out within my extent. And it should look to within the ArcGIS Online portal for right now. This is actually a new tool that we're just kind of tinkering around with. We got the base map gallery, just like we saw on the web map. Similar capability that I get with web app that I get with web map. I mean, obviously I can do more stuff. I can change the text more, and I can actually put my buttons in different locations. I certainly get more capability with the web app, because the web app is more about styling the application. The web map is more about display for the for the application. I got the ability to do bookmarks. So if I want to do a bookmark, I just type in here, and I can click plus, and then it will create a little bookmark on this extent. I can my edit capability similar to the other. I can do add, and I got different controls in here. Like I want to, if I add something, I can come in here and I can select it and delete it and whatnot. I can go in and look at the attributes, get out of that. We can have the ability to do filters. Filters are just like the filter capability that this is brand new too, that we were able to do. If I wanted to just display certain attributes, I can build a filter. Right now I haven't done any, there's nothing in here because I haven't set any properties for it. It was really more of just a talking point. Queries are where we can do specific queries. Like if I want to call something, like for reporting, if I'm a supervisor and I want to be able to find out all the different permits that each person on my team has updated. I could run a query. If the query is set up the way we'll have to tinker around with this exactly. This is the way we do it with BPP is we can come in here and we can run queries for the supervisor. So the supervisor ultimately is then able to come through and define for reporting purposes. Right now I just have a simple query based on office and division, but it's kind of a silly one. If I wanted to add a spatial filter to it, like I'm just going to draw a little square. This is like a distance measurement. So I want to do like say 2 miles, and I'm looking for, well, division is residential. I only have residential in here, so I can't really do anything more than that. But I could actually look for other offices. And so you get a little feedback. See, I get this is actually 3 miles out. Here's my initial square, and this is the feedback that actually shows me the range that actually is going to do the selection. So if I execute it, it's going to do a distance selection from the point of my square, so all the way around 3 miles out. So that's pretty cool. I love the feedback, actually. It's pretty nice. Actually, let me go back to that because I kind of started to define it. And the reality is I should try to clear it. Can I clear it? If I can't, then I need to figure it out. Okay, delete it. Okay, cool. And then we can do search. Now we can search either through here or we can search up here. And we can select. So if I want to come in here and I want to just select these records. Okay, and let me minimize that. Or what I could do is, this is a question for you, Eric. You want to know if I wanted to do a selection, if I could export stuff out. I could go right into the selection and go right to it and just export to CSV file. And what I expect would happen is it will only give me what's selected here. It's what it should be. That's the way most GIS works, but I want to clear that for later. But we can view the attribute table. Another way to get to CSV is to open up the attribute table. And right now it's filtered by map extent. I am showing 239 records. What I want to do is show just the selected records. So I change the color. And then maybe I want to export to CSV from here too. Export selected to CSV. So if I export that out, the export the data to CSV. CSV is like a native format for Excel. This is how we do it for BPP and the other mobile apps, is we use the reporting app essentially to extract out everything as Excel that they can either give to data control where they can type it in for the mainframe, or what we're doing with BPP is that it's the workflow of extracting the data out is actually going to be imported into Aumentum. So at this point, if I say OK, it's going to download it, just like this little value here, but I'm going to cancel that. So those are 2 ways where you can actually get at CSV. You have to open up a web app to get access to that. You can't do that through the web map. I can show hide columns just like I can do before. I can filter here. The filter here should behave where it only filters the values in the table itself. But if I do a filter up here through this button right here, it should filter both the geometry and the table information. So there should be a distinct difference there. I'm going to clear the selection. I'm going to close this. I'm going to close out of the table. If I click this little button right here, it will close it. This is my table button. Now note that this is a little different than Silverlight. With Silverlight, you can open up one table at a time. The way this happens, if I had multiple layers in here, I'll see different tabs. Like this is permits, if I had appeals, if I had Prop 8s, and so on and so forth, I'd have different tabs along here. And you'll see that kind of same behavior when you see the updated residential sales site. I'm going to go ahead and close the table. And what else do we want to do here? Oh, that's interesting. I just do a pop-up from that. It's weird. Kind of a quirk. And then the last little button that I have on here is batch attribute. So if you wanted to, let me go in, let me zoom in closer. I want to zoom into an area, and I wanted to, like if I knew I worked in a neighborhood, and I don't want to go through and change each one to no. I mean, yes, yes, I've completed it. I could come in here theoretically and just drag the little, I'm going to drag this rectangle, and I'm going to draw a square around the area. It's going to select all those. And then what I could do is I can come back here and I could say completed, and then mark that all the yes. Click save, and it will calculate all of these to yes. It's called a batch attribute editor. I'm not going to save that now. It is test data, so whatever you guys do to it will replace it. No matter, no problems. Now each of these are different. I can do a point. Obviously, I'm going to just select one, but I don't know if I'm going to really. Probably should turn off point because it's kind of pointless with batch attributing points. Well, the rectangle is actually like a square. Polygon is actually like in whatever shape you want to make it. And then I just double click to complete the polygon. Okay, and then this little star is I'm not clicking, I'm just moving my cursor around, and it's streaming. Think of it as like a streaming type data set. Okay, I'm going to clear that. And that is the batch attribute editor. The person who's using this right now as part of the app is the mobile home team, as this is part of their mobile application. Nathan would be a good resource on that. And Morgan's the one that set that up for him. Now we have an ability where we can zoom in and out through this capability, or what I can do is I can click the shift button and then just draw a square, and that will zoom into the square. Kind of a quick way, or I can actually use the middle scroll wheel if you have a middle scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Click this little button right here. This will give me a map overview. If this is important, it just shows you, hey, this is the extent that this is at. This is the overview, but maybe that's not important. We can always turn it off. So that's a quick little overview, I think, of the feature layer, the web map, and the web app. And next I think I'll do is I'll go a quick little schema to show you the schema, and then that should be it for this little series.